Hi, in this video, I will show you how to configure Kubernetes Continuous Deployment using Argo CD and GitOps on AWS EKS. As you see in this picture, this is a pictorial overview of my demo where I will be creating an Amazon EKS cluster which is called as a Kubernetes cluster on on my AWS account. On top of that EKS cluster, I will be hosting continuous deployment open source tool called Argo CD. Yeah, and on top of that Argo CD, I will do a configuration which points to my application source code repo, that is GitHub. Yeah, and this application will be developed by multiple developers, something like I have represented here. Okay, so developers will be continuously doing their application modifications, application upgradations, or bringing the new feature into into their applications, and finally they will make a commit to the source code that is in which is sitting in a GitHub. Yeah, once that is been done, the Argo CD will take care of the rest part, that is deploying that application on the Amazon EKS, and that is what we call it as a GitOps, right? And this is a complete overview of my demo here. Yeah, before I walk you to the complete demo step by step, and I will explain you the all the dependency that is needed in this demo, a kind request, please do subscribe my channel, that would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, let's directly jump to this demo. All right, so for this case, what I did is I have articulated all the documents, all the commandlets that you need to pass through in this JSON file, and this JSON file will be shared in my GitHub repo, and the GitHub repo link will be shared in this video's description. Please find this file from there and try to do the same step in your system as well. Yeah. All right, so there are certain prerequisites for this demo. Your system needs to be installed with AWS CLI. Your system needs to have the Chocolatey software installer tool in your system. Then you should have the EKCTL installed in your system. You can leverage the Chocolatey to install the Argo CD CLI in your system, and also you should have the kubectl which we will be using to interact with our AWS EKS cluster. Okay, so that is a prerequisite of this demo. And also I have also documented a separate part in this document, that is how to create our AWS EKS cluster, which is required for this demo. I'm leveraging the EKS utility and running this command. Yeah, and which will eventually help me with creating a fully flexed AWS EKS cluster. Yeah. All right, so I have already ran this command in my PowerShell utility. So I'm leveraging the PowerShell command line utility to run the all the commandlets which I have documented in this in this command line tool, in this command line JSON file. Yeah. So let me walk you through this thing whatever I have done. So here I am using the AWS CLI command called AWS configure to set up the context to my AWS account by using access key ID, secret access key, then the default reason and the output format. Okay, and once we am done with these credentials, I will be having an access to my AWS account, and to check that I'm just running the command called again, that is a AWS CLI command, AWS STS get caller identity. If you run this command, it should return something, it should return the identity, and that is what means that you have successfully established a connection to your AWS account. And finally, I am leveraging the EKCTL utility and creating the required EKS cluster for this demo, and this is the command that I used, that is EKCTL create cluster. This is my cluster name. I'm using the node type called t2.large. Node counts equal to 1, minimum I'm keeping 1, maximum 2. And the reason I'm choosing is US East 1, which is I have set here. Yeah, and the zones these are the zones I have set. Okay, since the creation of EKS cluster in AWS takes much time, nearby 15 minutes, to save the time, I have already ran this command, and just walk you through this, logs. Okay, once this EKCTL tool setups EKS cluster for you, it will tell a message called EKS cluster is ready, and you are good to use it. Okay, once this message you see in your PowerShell utility, that means that EKS cluster is up and running fine in your AWS account. So I will take you to my AWS account. This is my AWS account, and you see the cluster status is active, and this is the my cluster name. Yeah. All right, so this is very blank cluster. Now I will show you all the demo, all the things that I have explained here. First one, we will install the Argo CD utility or Argo CD tool on my EKS cluster, which will help us to do the continuous deployment of our application from the GitHub repo. Yeah. And finally, we will see one example application. You see my example application, which is I have shown as a pod here symbol, which is nothing but my example application, which has been deployed by Argo CD. That is what I mean in this demo. All right. So now we are here. Now let's go back to our command line tool. So till now we are good. We did till now. Now next step we need to carry out is the next steps which I have documented in the block. So this is the block I need to carry out now. So first step, okay. First step, let's check. Okay, let's check the connections with using kubectl. How do I do that? I just have to go to the utility and run this. Yeah. So I will just go to this utility and just run the kubectl get nodes commands. Let me copy this command. I will do copy and paste because typing the command will take some time. That's the reason I just do kubectl get nodes. It should return some data. So you see it has returned saying like it has one node and which is in a ready state. So first step we are good. Now we go to the next step. So next step is since Argo CD is an example, is like an application like another like application. To deploy application generally in the Kubernetes world, what we do is we create a namespace. Okay. So for this case also, since I'm deploying an Argo CD application on my EKS cluster, I create a namespace dedicatedly for the Argo CD. Yeah? And that's the reason I'm doing now. Let me copy this command. So, all right. So this command, what it does is it will create a namespace called Argo CD for us. Yeah. And it has been created. Now we go to the next step. So the next step is very straightforward. We are using the kubectl utility to install the Argo CD command. Okay. So here the commandlet looks something like this, and I will explain the implications of this command. I'll just copy this and paste it here. So let me copy. So here you go. All right, so let's copy this command and paste it. It's not getting copied, so let me copy it again properly. I just copied, and here you go. So here again, I'm using the kubectl apply, which is nothing but like any other application deploying way of deploying your application on the Kubernetes EKS cluster. Yeah, and the namespace targeting to the Argo CD namespace which I created above, and it is pointing to the GitHub repo and pointing to a GitHub repo's file called install.yaml file. So this is something like it has been maintained by the Argo CD project maintainers. So there are certain group of developers who maintain these repo at the GitHub. Okay, and that customers like us or the users like us directly can consume that install YAML file and install the Argo CD on our EKS cluster. Okay, that's what I'm doing now. I'll just hit enter for this, and it should start the installation. Yeah. So installation is a bit time consuming. So for that case, what we do is I will just walk you through the other steps while it is installing. Yeah. All right. So while it is taking, so where we are now. So now we are here. Okay. So once the Argo CD is installed on your EKS cluster, then what we have to do is we have to establish a connection on the GitHub repo. So here I have chosen one example GitHub repo which is hosting an example application. We make a connection between this Argo CD and this GitHub repo, and we'll tell the Argo to get the application from there and deploy on this EKS cluster. Okay. Finally, I'll also in between I will also show you like how do you can access the Argo CD tool in your system with using port forwarding method. And also I will show you like how you can log into this Argo CD application with using CLI. Yes, Argo CD Argo CD tool, it also has its own CLI, that is Argo CD CLI. We use the command line utility and try to deploy an application with using command line utility on this EKS cluster. Yeah. And finally I will also show you like how we can access the application after the connection, after establishing the connection between these two. Yeah, between the GitHub and the Argo CD. Let's go back to the this one. So here you go. It has started to deploy something. Okay, and finally you see the Argo CD is up and running fine. In the sense Argo CD is deployed now. Now let's go and check the pods of Argo CD, how they looks now. All right. So I will just paste this command, and we are checking the status of the get pods. So you see Argo CD application, Argo CD Dex server, Argo CD Reddish, Argo CD Repo, Argo CD servers. Okay, all right, all the parts of your Argo CD are up and running fine, which tells us that your application, that is Argo CD application or Argo CD tool, is working fine on your EKS cluster. Yeah, so this Argo CD is now up and running fine on the EKS cluster. Now let's go to the next steps. So next steps tells us to access it. Okay, first of all, There are two ways, we can access the Argo CD tool, either using as a UI, that is a web application, or you can access the Argo CD tool with using the CLI as well. As I explained, to access your Argo CD application, you need to have the Argo CD CLI installed in your system. Yeah. All right. So for that case, it is very simple. You just utilize the Choco utility and install the Argo CD, Argo CD in your system. And the command that you use to install the Argo CD CLI is something like this. Okay. So I am using the Choco utility installer and using the command install and Argo CD CLI. So this will help you to install the Argo CD utility on our system. That is just the next step. So, but before that, since our application is up and fine, so we are at step 4. Yeah. And now we do port forwarding. So let me do this. This is our 5. Yeah, this is 5. And these steps is 5.1 and this is 5.2. Yeah. All right. So now what we do is, since our parts are up and running fine, let's access that. Okay, first let's do the accessing our application with using port forwarding method. So if I can explain you what is the port forwarding method in a very layman term. So port forwarding is nothing but, this application is hosted on EKS cluster, but it cannot be easily accessible from the internet. Okay. So for that case, what we are doing is we are leveraging the, kubectl mechanism, kubectl way of, working. Like with leveraging the kubectl utility, we are telling like, this application, hey application, just get that application accessible for meantime from this particular laptop. That is what, that is what port forwarding does in a layman's term. Yeah, layman's term. Nothing but we are directing the, if I can go your next step technical level, we are nothing but we are telling this particular Argo CD service to accessible over the port number 8080. Yeah. From this system. That is what we mean. That is what port forwarding does. Okay, so let's do this port forwarding. Before I do the port forwarding, there is one more important steps. Okay, so once the Argo CD application gets installed in your system, it will generate its own user ID and password. So before I start a port forwarding session, I should have my credentials in handy. So for that case, what I do is I will retrieve the password, okay, user ID and password of the Argo CD tool. Now let me do that. Yeah, so here it will return base 64 encoded password. So this is base 64 encoded password. I will copy this and let's decode this. Okay, so this is the this is online utility and this is online utility which will decode the base 64 encodes. Here you go. We got our base 64 encode data, something like this. Let me copy this and I will paste it in Notepad. Yeah. Okay, all right. So this is our password now. Now we are good. So and the user ID. So let me tell you the user ID of the Argo CD by default. So default user ID of the Argo CD tool is admin. Okay, so that is what I think I have written here. Here you go. Right. So now we can. I think I need to swap these steps. Okay. So let me put something here, and let's make it here. Alt text. So this is something you need to follow this way. Yeah. This is 5.2. This is 5.3. Alert. Okay. So now we are good here. Now we have gathered the password. Now we need to do the port forwarding. And as I said, user ID is admin. Yeah. So let's do that. We'll go to the port forwarding now. Since we got the password, so this is our password, and user ID is admin. Yeah. So for your clarity. So let me do the port forwarding here. Okay. I will go here and I run the command port forwarding. Now, when we initiate this port forwarding, we should be able to access that Argo CD application from my laptop. Yeah, I think it is taking the port forwarding and forwarding the ports. Okay. All right. So it has started. So let's try to access this. Local host on port 8080. Right. So Argo CD should be accessible from this utility. Okay. So this will take some time because it has to establish the connection. Here you go. Right. It has started to gather it. So here it will telling like since it is insecure, it is telling us, giving us some warning. You can ignore that. Go to the advanced and tell like proceed to unsafe local host connections. So I'm going here and here you go. The magic has happened. This Argo CD utility, this Argo CD tool is being hosted on my EKS cluster. It is running here. Yeah. So under the hood, that application is now running on this, and now we are good. It's directly Argo CD tool is not accessible. So for that one, we have to log in with some default user ID and password. So the default user ID password we just now gathered, and decoded the password as well. So this is my decoded 64 password, so base 64 password. I will just put it across and I'll do a sign in, and it should allow us to sign in. Yeah, here you go. Right, so this is the application which is been hosted on the EKS cluster. For your information, right now this Argo CD application does not has any apps been hosted in this one. Now for this, as part of this demo, I will also show you, like, through this Argo CD, how do we host an application by pointing to a GitHub repo, and that is what my diagram tells. Okay, we tell this Argo CD, hey Argo CD, go to this GitHub repo, get the application and host it on this EKS cluster. That is what the next step is. Yeah. All right. So, and one more thing to tell you, once you have started the port forwarding, this session is Windows PowerShell session is blocked. We cannot use it. So for that case, you need to use another Windows PowerShell session, where you again use the AWS configure and you check all the utility, and you should be having a ready to use PowerShell session, something like this. Okay. Now we are here, and rest task we will do from here. That is the one more thing I need to tell you. Now we are good. Now we are able to access the Argo CD utility from the web but now there is one more step. Okay, the one more step is you have to access the we have to access the Argo CD with using CLI. So for that case, you have to make your system installed with the Argo CD CLI, and to do that, you can run this command from the administrator privilege. Yeah, and eventually it will help you to install the Argo CD. This becomes a prerequisite as well. Yeah. All right. Since I'm done with this Argo CD CLI, I will not show you in this demo. What I do is I go to the next step, that is accessing the Argo CD application with using CLIs, and that is what I do here in the second Windows PowerShell session. Okay, so I will go to the here, and so next step is we want to leverage the Argo CD and deploy application and access the application. Okay, that is the next steps, and that is the main motive from here. Now what I'm doing is I'm accessing the Argo CD again with using localhost. Okay, since the port forwarding is already been done, so all right, so we don't need to do anything here. You just directly go ahead and access it. Yeah. So what I do is I will do as, yeah. So here, there we did a port forwarding and accessing the UI. Here we are using the CLI and accessing it, command line access. Yeah. So here I will type the user ID, same user ID, admin. Typing the password is a bit tricky. You have to be very careful and exactly type whatever been here. Okay. I will tell you, I'm giving you hint, it might be very difficult. So carefully type the password, what is there here. Okay. All right, so I will do it very carefully because it has struggled me. Okay, I will tell you, that is for your information. All right, so let me type the password, D X I, and that is a 0, then that is a small letter C, then caps N, 36 L J Z, and again caps O, U, L, U, and H. All right, let me type enter. If you have entered the password correctly, then only you see the message like, login is successful and the context is localhost 8080. All right, so now you have successfully established a connection even through the CLI. And also from web application, this is what you are accessing, the Argo CD. Now let's do this, let's go and run the next commands. Are nothing but next commands are using, CLIs, that is Argo CD CLI only. Now we are good here. Now next run the command. So next command is next command what we do is, this is what the task we are doing now. Now we are establishing a connection to our GitHub repo where the source code has been hosting, and our Argo CD which is sitting on our EKS cluster. Yeah. All right. So that is the connection being made with using this big command. I will explain this command one after the other. But let me copy from here and I will explain from the Windows PowerShell tool. I'll copy this. See, whatever the task I'm doing in a second PowerShell utility. Yeah. So I'm here now. And let me explain what I'm doing is I'm using the Argo CD CLI and using the app create API. And this is my app name, that is Helm guest book, because this Argo CD is using the Helm commands to deploy an application. Okay. Or to leverage the application, to leverage the Helm to deploy application on the EKS cluster. And the repo it is, so here you go. This is what the magic is happening. Okay. it is making these repo connections, yeah, and path is it is using the Helm guestbooks. Okay, if I can run this command in the internet, I will just, to make you very explicit, so I will go to this repo, I will go to this repo. Let me open it inside page, and if I hit it, so nothing but in this GitHub repo, you are going and using this, this subfolder called, Helm guestbook. Okay, that is what this command means. Yeah, path is Helm guestbook, and then destination. So the destination is HTTPS Kubernetes default service. Okay, that is what it is pointing, and the destination namespace is default. So I am deploying. Okay, I am deploying this application in a destination in a default namespace, but you can create a dedicated application namespace and host that your application there as well. Now let me do this. I will just hit the enter, so that Argo CD goes and does the required configurations. Okay, let me tell you, this does not mean that it just establishes a connection. Okay, so if we can see that from the Argo CD, here you go, right? There is nothing. So here we are making some new apps here. So okay, here you go, right? So it has been becoming a magic, right? So it has suddenly popped up. I think you have seen it lively, and this is what it looks. In the sense, we have made a connection to a GitHub repo called Helm guestbook, and this is what the repository git link looks. Yeah, and right now it is currently status is missing and out of sync. Why it says missing in the sense, till now it has not deployed an application on the EKS cluster, but it has just established a connections. And to do the next steps, okay, to do actually connections, or to do the next actual steps, nothing but actually to deploy the application. Okay, that is what we do in the next steps. So let me do those next steps. Now we see I have shown you the status right now. The status is right now missing and out of sync. Okay, and if you want to see that from the CLI, you can do this. Okay, Argo CD app get something like that. Yeah. So till now what we did is we added one app to this Argo CD, so that it can keep on deploying this app and make a synchronizations. Yeah. Right now synchronization is 0, out of sync is there as 1. Yeah. This is what this is what Argo tail utility tells us. You can leverage this Argo CD to maintain your continuous deployment. Okay, that is what the main motive of this demo. And currently it is gathering the CLI is gathering that information which we are right now seeing from here. Yeah, and here you go, right? So you see it is missing and out of sync. Okay, that is what the status we are seeing here, right? Very good. So let's go to the next step. The next step is yeah, so next step is actual thing, nothing but this is the command which will trigger, okay, which will tell the Argo CD, hey Argo CD, go and deploy my application on the EKS cluster. Okay, and that is what we do here now. This I can do it from here, like sync, but I don't want to do that, because I'm I'm always in support of using from the CLIs or command line utilities are doing infrastructure as a code way of doing. Yeah. All right. So let me do that, and let's synchronize our application so that a pod can be deployed on our application. And while it is running, I will also keep this session open so that you can see this, the status changing from missing to available and synchronized. All right, so let's check. Here you go. Right, it has successfully synchronized and the status is in progress. It will take some time and it gets, status turns into healthy. I'm just refreshing that. Yeah, and if I can show you from the pane as well, so it says it has successfully deployed. Okay, all right. Okay. So let's see the status. Okay, so it is currently, since the connection is getting missed, if I can show you why it is happening. Here you go, right? So there is some, timeout is getting occurred because of my network. You can just ignore it. Anyways, when the, when it comes online, it will come back again. Yeah. So let me refresh it again so that, it will come back again. So this is just a, like, troubleshoot. You don't need to worry at all. This is just like a way of understanding how does the tool behaves in a certain different cases. This is a very good example. Here you go. It has successfully tells healthy and synchronized. Okay, that is what we want. And if I run this command again, so and we should be able to see that pod up and running fine. So anyways, app is now synchronized. Now let's check the status of our pod. How I can do that? So I can go ahead and run the command called kubectl get pods. So if I run kubectl get pods, for your information, I'm doing it from the second PowerShell utility. Okay, second PowerShell terminals. Here you go. So kubectl get pods. Okay, kubectl get pods. So kubectl get parts command is wrong, so that's the reason it is throwing the error. So let me type it correctly, kubectl get parts. So we should see our application part up and running fine here. Okay, that is what I wanted to show you here. So the application which I deployed is just a guest book, which is an example application. All right, so the application is up and running fine, and that is the reason we see the status equal to healthy and synchronized. Now we are in the second phase. Now we need to access our application as well, like how we accessed our Argo CD tool from the EKS cluster. Now we have to do the second method, that is again we have to do a port forwarding for that. Yeah. So let me do a port forwarding and I will show you the application being accessible from the internet as well. From my system. Okay, when I do a port forwarding, it is only accessible from my system, not from the other system. Okay, for your information. So I'm doing a port forwarding on this now, and the port forwarding has started. Now let's access the application. Okay, that becomes a final step of our deployment, our final step of this demo. And let's access our application. And here you go, the application is up and running fine. Yeah. So again, let me tell you a hidden thing here. So here I didn't do any kubectl apply to deploy my example application, but Argo CD did that for me. Okay. And one more thing. So in this application, let's say I'm making some dummy changes and I do a commit to this source code, then Argo CD will automatically fetch the latest code and deploy your application changes here. Yeah. So that is what we have successfully achieved, the things to be shown in this demo. Yeah. So what I did, finally, let me recap it. So what we did is we hosted our EKS cluster. Yeah. We hosted our Kubernetes cluster on Amazon EKS, which is a managed EKS cluster. On that EKS cluster, I deployed an Argo CD tool, which is a continuous deployment open source tool. And it also supports a GitOps way of working, managing your application. Yeah. And finally, after that, what I did is I made a connection back to the GitHub repo where my application is sitting. Yeah. And after that, I did a synchronization so that the connection between these two is established. Once the connection is established, I did application deployment, that is Argo CD app synchronization, which is nothing but it synchronizes the app. Yeah. Once that is been done, my application is directly hosted on the EKS cluster, and you see the pod is up and running fine. Yeah. So this pod is deployed by the Argo CD tool, not by me. Yeah. All right. And finally, we were able to access this part, that is the application running on this here. So this is my application which is running on the side, and the code will be managed by our developers. Okay, that is what this symbol means. Yeah. And that's all for now. I have successfully shown you the things to be shown in this video. A kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, thank you. Thanks a lot.